All right, welcome. You've landed in the right place if you're a visionary looking to build real wealth. Today, we're going to do a very direct, no fluff breakdown of how your own mind might just be the single biggest thing holding you back from success. Look, if you get offended easily by some hard truths about how you might be sabotaging yourself, this probably isn't for you. But if you're done with mediocrity and you're ready to really understand what's in your way, well, then you're exactly where you need to be. Okay, let's get into it. So here's the thing. The vast majority of people go through their whole lives believing a fundamental lie. And that lie is the idea that we are our thoughts. The philosopher Descartes famously said, "I think, therefore I am." But honestly, he made a massive error by making our identity the same thing as our thinking. And this really gets to the heart of the issue. Your mind is this incredible, magnificent tool. But the moment we start identifying with it, the moment we let it use us instead of the other way around, it becomes seriously destructive. See, when you believe you are your mind, you accidentally create this false self. It's kind of like a ghost in the machine, and we call it the ego. And this ego, it's this vulnerable, scared thing that just drains your vital energy. The very energy you need to build, to create, to invest. Let's take a look at how it actually does that. The first huge obstacle is something we're going to call the time trap. And you need to know this is the ego's absolute favorite way to keep you stuck. Here's the critical point. The ego literally cannot survive in the present moment. It needs the past and the future to even exist. Just think about that for a second. Is your mind constantly dragging you back to old mistakes? Or is it launching you into all these anxieties about what might happen tomorrow? If it is, that's the ego at work. It's pulling you away from the only place you have any real power, which is right here, right now. And what's so interesting here is just how clear the contrast is. The ego-driven or weak mind, it paralyzes you. It loves to replay your past failures over and over to create this identity of you being a loser. Or it cooks up these disastrous future scenarios that just pump you full of fear. It's always telling you that wealth and happiness are somewhere else, one day in the future. But the elite mind, it gets that true power, those game-changing opportunities. They only show up when you focus every bit of your attention on the one thing you're doing in this exact moment. So what's the end result of living in this time trap? Well, it's this: brutal, non-stop stress. It's like this constant pressure gripping your mind. And when you're always pulled between regret about the past and anxiety about the future, you end up making decisions that are hasty, emotional, and almost always wrong. These are the kinds of decisions that blow up partnerships and completely drain bank accounts. You just can't operate clearly from that place. Okay, let's move on because this builds on itself. The next issue is the problem of constant mental noise. You know what I'm talking about. That compulsive, useless inner chatter that is just a massive, massive drain on your energy. Have you ever actually stopped to notice that nonstop voice in your head? The one that's always commenting on things, judging people, comparing yourself to others, complaining about this or that, all day long? This is a really destructive habit, and it keeps you unfocused and frankly poor in spirit. And here we go again. You can see this clear split. The weak mind is just lost in compulsive thinking. It's rehearsing imaginary arguments while you're in the shower. It's worrying about problems that don't even exist. It's a cycle of noise that leads to terrible choices. The elite mind, though, it's different. It uses thinking as a tool. It picks it up to solve a practical problem, and here's the key part. When the task is done, it knows how to turn the tool off and find stillness. Because that quiet, that's where the multi-million-dollar ideas are actually born. And this leads us right into the third concept, the addiction to trauma. All this unconscious reacting and all this mental noise, it's actually feeding something inside you, something called the pain body, which is basically an energy parasite that thrives on conflict and keeps you stuck in scarcity. So, what is this pain body? Well, this is a concept from the writer Eckhart Tolle. He calls it the corpo de dor. It's basically the buildup of all the emotional pain you've ever felt, but never really processed. And over time, it forms its own energy field inside you, a parasite that every so often needs to feed on new drama and new conflict just to stay alive. Let's look at how this works. Something bad happens. Let's say a huge client quits and you lose 30% of your revenue overnight. Then you react unconsciously, right? Maybe with this totally over-the-top anger, or you spiral into feeling like a victim. That reaction creates fresh emotional pain, which then feeds that old built-up pain. That's not your intelligence speaking. That's the pain body hijacking you to create more drama for it to eat. And this is absolutely critical in business, in relationships, in life. Look at this. This is what happens when two pain bodies get in a room together. In any successful project, there is zero room for these reactive minds. Whenever you get two or more egos together, and each one is feeding its own need for drama, the destruction of value, we're talking failed deals, toxic teams, financial loss, it's pretty much guaranteed. Now, for those of you who've stuck with this so far, here it is. This is the final key. This is the ultimate mental shift that lets you completely disarm the ego and take back your power to build and create. Okay, so here's the crucial point, and I want you to really hear this. Problems do not exist in the present moment. A problem is just a story, an illusion that your mind creates about the past or the future. In the reality of right now, all you ever truly have are situations. And a situation is simple. It's something you either deal with or you accept. That's it. It's not a problem. See, one word paralyzes you with fear, the other empowers you to act. The second you start reframing problems into situations, your stress basically vanishes. This one practical shift gives you a level of mental clarity for executing, for building your business, for making smart investments that, honestly, 99% of people will never, ever understand. So, the only question that really matters at the end of the day is this one. Who's really in control? Is it you, the conscious observer, or is it that compulsive, chattering voice in your head? Because the answer to that question, it determines everything.